vision of duty is not the same as his. And I'm going to prove that my vision is right by doing my duty. He's in danger of losing a great deal more than the Bay of Pigs.
The Kennedys support you.
I do not believe you, Mr. Kennedy.
Mrs. Kennedy's expenditures for the first quarter are $34,000. And these are personal expenses?
Yes, they are.
Well, this is kind of Eva Perón.
No.
Come on, Jackie.
Jackie's going to be an international sensation in Europe.
We can use this for Buckingham Palace.
The dress in which the First Lady will be presented to Her Majesty the Queen.
I don't intend to be the first president to go bankrupt his first year in office. This is very serious. I'm going to have to talk to her.
Above all, I want every final detail of the minutes, the hours, the days she spent with Kennedy.
The affair has to stop, Jack.
You're commander-in-chief. You're in charge, Jack. You can always stop short of war.
I'm very concerned about Vietnam. I don't want another Cuba. I don't need another Castro on my back.
Bob's right. Just wait. Play it cool.
Why can't I just be left alone and be a great president?
The official book of the television series by the writer of the series, Reg Gadney, is published by Macdonald's and is widely available in bookshops, price £11.95.
Next Sunday night at 7:45, Francesca Annis and James Warwick return in Agatha Christie's Partners in Crime. And at 8:45, Judge Hardcastle and Skid McCormick are back in action to make sure that justice is done. Hardcastle and McCormick and Partners in Crime return next Sunday night on London Weekend Television.
Tom!
Hey, great! You didn't have to meet me.
I bought you Aramis and they gave me this wonderful umbrella. So, how could I let you get wet?
I'm glad it rained.
The Aramis Signature Umbrella is yours free with 2 or more fragrance purchases of Aramis, Aramis Devon or Aramis 900. Available now at Debenham's until the 3rd of December.
Pint of Toby, please.
2 pints of Toby.
Last year, 1 million pints of Toby Bitter were drunk in just one area down here. Not just because of this.
The fella said, last Christmas.
But this. And this.
Oh, don't forget your change.
Toby. Great bitter. Great value.
Now when you buy a travel card or bus pass, you can count yourself a member of the Travel Card Discount Club. You can get discounts on dozens of things, like 10% off membership to Danceworks. Or 30% off dry cleaning.
Are you good at stains?
We're good everywhere, madam.
You can even save £35 on your holiday expenses.
What's that in drachmas?
The new Travel Card Discount Club. Ask for a leaflet with full details at any underground station, bus garage or selected newsagents.
Someday, perhaps, you may know what it is to taste the world's most luxurious chocolates. Collection Lanvin, chocolates par excellence.
If your Radio Rentals telly goes on the blink, they'll fix it. Just like that. No wonder they got to be biggest. Radio Rentals, we got to be biggest by giving our best.
Campari, darling. This is the way to spend Christmas. You happy, darling?
But how long will it last?
Boy, turn that thing down, will you?
Oh, no.
Look, I'm sorry, love. We'll go away next Christmas, I promise.
Compared to other drinks, Campari is one long holiday.
You can't beat PG, Ada.
My favourite, Dolly.
That's a lovely big jumper.
My old man said it would fit King Kong.
What did you say?
I told him to get knitted.
Oh, you are a one.
There's no other tea to beat PG.
It's the taste.
At Ross, we understand that making fish an interesting meal is sometimes a bit of a performance.
Fish again, Colin.
That's why we brought out a new fish recipe range, including cod crumble. Chunks of prime cod in a delicious parsley and onion sauce with a topping of savoury crumb and grated cheese. The new fish recipe range from Ross. Interesting fish dishes without all the performance.
Catherine Cookson's one of the world's best-selling novelists. On this week's South Bank Show, she talks about her harrowing childhood on Tyneside and the people and incidents that helped shape her as a writer.
Sing us an Irish camellia. Sing us an Irish tune.
Exactly the same size. He had one especially made, and he called it Dennis, you know.
But tonight was Friday, and tomorrow you could go to the penny matinee at the Crown. What greater joy could anyone ask for?
That's Catherine Cookson on this week's South Bank Show.
This is London Weekend Television. Now the news with Alistair Stewart.
3 shot dead in attack on gospel meeting in South Armagh. Fierce fighting in Lebanon. Israeli jet downed near Beirut. Nuclear waste spill. Minister says precautions not good enough. And Lot 303 goes for more than £250,000 in just 3 minutes. Good evening. 3 people have been killed and 7 injured, 3 seriously, in a gun attack on a church in Northern Ireland. 2 masked gunmen entered the Elam Pentecostal Church in Darkley, County Armagh, and sprayed the small congregation with automatic fire. Later, a group calling itself the Catholic Reaction Force said they did it.
The shooting happened just after 6 o'clock at a tiny gospel hall in remote countryside near the village of Darkley, just 1 mile from the South Armagh border. Almost 70 men, women and children, the youngest a 7-month-old baby and a carry-cot, were in the wooden hall when the killers struck. Using automatic weapons, the 2 gunmen first shot 3 church elders who'd been welcoming the congregation into the hall. One of the men stumbled wounded into the hall as stunned worshippers who'd just finished singing their first hymn dived for cover, while the gunmen followed him in and shot him again. As the killers fled, they fired indiscriminately through the wooden walls of the hall. Another 7 people, 4 women and 3 men, were wounded. 2 married couples are among the injured, but their condition isn't known. Police say none of the dead or injured had any connection with the security forces, and they're treating it as a deliberate sectarian shooting. Ivan Little for ITN in Northern Ireland.
The fighting in Lebanon has intensified on 2 fronts. The northern city of Tripoli has seen its worst bombardment yet, and outside Beirut an Israeli warplane was shot down. The Syrians say they brought it down. The Delta-winged Israeli Kafir was part of a bombing mission against Syrian and Druze positions in the Shuf. So far, Fallujah, Bamdoum and Balshay were all hit before the plane was downed.
The attack by Israeli Phantom and Kafir jets lasted for 45 minutes. Their target, Syrian-held positions in the Shuf Mountains northeast of Beirut. According to the Israelis, villages here are launching pads by guerrillas for attacks on Israel. Bombs could be seen dropping from the jets, followed by decoys to confuse heat-seeking missiles. But at least one jet was downed, crashed in flames in an unpopulated area near Beirut's international airport. The pilot who parachuted to safety is now in the custody of the Lebanese army. Soldiers recovering the parachute came under sniper fire from nearby Syrian positions. The question now is what response this retaliation by Israel will provoke from the Syrians and their allies here in the mountains above Beirut. Norman Rees, ITN in Lebanon.
Today's Israeli raid was the second in 4 days, and it came 2 weeks after the lorry bomb at the Israeli headquarters in Tyre. An Israeli cabinet statement today said the latest raid was in retaliation for a chain of terrorist attacks against Israeli soldiers in Lebanon.
It'll soon be 3 months since the Israelis pulled their soldiers out of the murderous Shuf Mountains and back behind the defensible line of the Awali River. At the coastal crossing point of the Awali, the soldiers are nervous and watchful. Each week since the pullback has seen at least one soldier killed and 5 or 6 wounded. There's some kind of attack almost every day. The Israelis' reaction has been to clamp down on civilian movements in and out of their sector. Thousands of Lebanese queue at the only 2 checkpoints, while every vehicle is searched for weapons or explosives. The people here are mostly Shia Muslims, the very sect from which it's believed the Tyre bombers came. The Shias, the most fanatical of whom are loyal to Ayatollah Khomeini, have replaced the PLO as Israel's main enemy in Lebanon. Israel's only ally in the area is the militia of Major Said Haddad. But Haddad's men number less than 3,000, and the Israeli commanders don't believe they're up to the job of protecting Israel's northern border. Where the Awali River meets the sea, the Israelis are building a permanent terminal to check the traffic. So when the Israeli government says its troops will leave Lebanon when the Syrians in the north do the same, no one's very hopeful.
To the north, the city of Tripoli today saw its worst fighting so far as the Syrian-backed Palestinian rebels rained shells and rockets on Yasser Arafat's loyalists, still holding out after 2 weeks. Another report from Norman Rees.
Tripoli is a city to weep for. In the last 24 hours, this already devastated town has become the subject of shelling and rocket fire that is now entirely indiscriminate. Both rival PLO factions have abandoned any pretense of protecting civilians here and seem intent on a gloves-off fight to the last. The port is ablaze. Oil storage containers berthed in the harbour are now adding their black smoke to the blazing oil refinery in the distance. The main roads into the town are under fire. No one is safe. Heavy machine gun fire echoes over the Badawi refugee camp, where the rival factions are virtually eyeball to eyeball. It's here where much of the shelling has been concentrated. Palestinians are waging what amounts to a civil war. The problem is, with no state of their own to battle in, they're using somebody else's. Unlucky Lebanon. Norman Rees, ITN, on the outskirts of Tripoli.
Back here, the government has ordered the firm running the Sellafield nuclear reprocessing plant in Cumbria to tighten up their safety precautions. And they've ordered an inquiry into how radioactive waste from a discharge pipe ended up on the beach near Sellafield, formerly Windscale. The company, British Nuclear Fuels, say there was never any danger.
A 200-yard stretch of beach near Seascale had to be sealed off after the radioactive pollution was washed up. But by this evening, the waste had stopped coming ashore. After scientists removed the contaminated material, the beach was reopened. The trouble began after the annual clean-out at Sellafield. The operators, British Nuclear Fuels, say unusually calm seas failed to disperse the waste, which was discharged from a 1.5 mile long pipeline. They insist that the material wasn't dangerous. But the environmental group Greenpeace claim the level of radioactivity was far higher than normal. They're calling for the pipeline to be closed down. They say it's scandalous that Sellafield's operation can result in the closure of beaches and the contamination of the general public. This latest incident follows claims in an ITV documentary that Seascale has a higher than normal number of people suffering from cancer. Government ministers are also dissatisfied with safety measures, and their concern has been heightened this weekend.
It sounds a rather unsatisfactory story. I mean, I don't think it's serious in terms of contamination. I gather the beach is already open again. But equally, it sounds at first sight as if it's something that shouldn't have happened. And my department will want to discuss with the management of BNFL what did go wrong, if anything did.
A £100 million purification plant designed to reduce the level of radioactivity is due to be opened next year. But Mr. Waldegrave says that further improvements may be necessary.
The Liverpool sextuplets could be home for Christmas. 5 of the Walton sisters are breathing normally, and only the 6th, with immature lungs, is still on a ventilator. The Queen and Prince Philip spent most of their 36th wedding anniversary today 400 miles apart. On the 4th day of their tour of India, the Prince went to a game park viewing tigers from the relative safety of an elephant's back. The Queen spent the day in the southern city of Hyderabad, where she'll be joined later tonight by Prince Philip.
The Queen has spent the weekend in South India, mostly in Hyderabad, and everyone who goes there visits the Golconda Fort. The guide was particularly loquacious, and the Queen most sensibly took refuge behind her binoculars. The building of the fort started in 1518 and took 60 years to finish. 100 years later, the Mughals captured it. It's looked like this ever since. And then, again, that tune that seems to be following the Queen on this tour. This time it was a divine service at Holy Trinity Balaram, a white wedding cake of a church which was paid for from the private purse of Queen Victoria in 1845. But life in South India mixes religions with complete ease and cheerfulness. And so the Queen also went to a Hindu temple dedicated to the monkey god. Anthony Carthew, ITN, in Hyderabad.
Football, and Northern Ireland are out of the European Championship finals. They were edged out by West Germany, who beat Albania 2-1 this afternoon to finish top of Group 6 on goal difference. The man who's masterminding the British economy, the Chancellor Nigel Lawson, met some other grandmasters tonight, the men who want to be world chess champion. They're meeting in London this week to decide who'll challenge Anatoly Karpov for the title, and they're making their opening moves even before the games have started.
The semi-finalists stood well apart from each other, sipping orange juice while others drank champagne, courtesy of the Treasury. Viktor Korchnoi, 53 and a Soviet defector of 7 years standing, has already run into problems. When he checked into his hotel, he discovered his Soviet opponent, Garry Kasparov, was booked in too and moved out. But Korchnoi's new hotel room had no fridge, and that's important, because Korchnoi needs what he calls his brain food: yogurt, caviar, and, wait for it, cocaine-charged chocolate cakes, which he wanted to keep cool. To cap it all, when he moved back to his original hotel, they'd given away his room, and he had to retreat back to the room with no fridge. Kasparov, the world's number 2, just 20 and wearing a suit with a distinctly Soviet cut, would be the youngest world champion ever if he won. The Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, a very bad chess player, declared the semi-finals open and let the players choose their colours. Vasily Smyslov, world champion 6 years before Kasparov was born, won the advantage of white against his Hungarian opponent Zoltan Ribli. Kasparov also drew white, which was more bad news for Korchnoi. Sam Hall, ITN, Downing Street.
The British Bloodstock Agency took just 3 minutes to spend £250,000 guineas tonight. That's what they paid for a 6-month foal who's the spitting image of his father, Shergar. The auctioneer at Goff's Sales in County Kildare said the colt was rarer than a penny black. Dealers agreed, pushing his price to a European record. Police are still hunting the gang who kidnapped the sire, Shergar, from stables only a few miles from today's sales.
A splendid-looking beast, and I'm sure worth every penny. That's the news from ITN. From all of us here to all of you, a very good night.
Next Sunday night at 10, we'll be back on television with Dr. Bitter, the dentist, and a lot of other strange creatures that your TV set might one day try to bring to you if it has a cable plugged into it. See the television of the future now. Next Sunday, ITV, 10 o'clock.
And even sooner, the weather forecast for the London weekend television area. It will be a dry night and most of the cloud will clear away. After midnight, the temperature will fall quickly and a frost is likely in most places. The minimum temperature will be around -2 degrees centigrade, 28 Fahrenheit at dawn. A much colder night than of late. Monday will be a dry day with a fair amount of sunshine, but it will feel rather cold. After the frosty start, the temperature will reach only 6 degrees centigrade, 43 Fahrenheit for a short time in the early afternoon. Wind northerly, light to moderate, and the outlook mainly dry and bright with frost overnight. In just a few moments on the South Bank Show, from the slums of East Jarrow to success as one of the world's most popular novelists, Catherine Cookson.
Travel the stunning Intercity 125 on business and you're in an excitingly different world. One that's relaxed, businesslike. A world you can work in. Even at speeds like this, you're not tied to your seat. On Intercity 125, you're in a world where you're looked after in real comfort while someone else drives. So you arrive fresh, feeling businesslike, all of which proves that for anyone going places in today's business world, this is the age of the train.
Ah, luscious, my best black currants for your Ribena. Every concentrated drop brimming with fruit. And vitamin C, BC. Ribena. Super concentrated to go a long way. Long, BC. Very.
Ribena, concentrated goodness.
And all because the lady loves milk tray.
Who's that? Who's that? And who's that? It could be you in this beautiful pastel mink jacket. Down £500 to only £695. Edelson at Selfridges. Ask about interest-free credit.
Looking really marvelous. The marvelous, feel marvelous. Love that's marvelous. The only one with added vitamins A and D. It's marvelous what Marvel can do. Marvel keeps you looking. Marvel keeps you feeling marvelous. Marvelous. Love that's Marvel. Looking, feeling marvelous. It's the only one. It's marvelous what Marvel can do.
Campari, darling. This is the way to spend Christmas. You happy, darling?
But how long will it last?
Boy, turn that thing down, will you?
Oh, no.
Look, I'm sorry, love. We'll go away next Christmas, I promise.
Compared to other drinks, Campari is one long holiday.
Electrical shopping, you just can't lose. At Curry's, there's always lots to choose. You can't buy cheaper, that's what we say. Curry's price promise, there's no better way. Come to Curry's, we're the electrical people, where everything clicks.
Mona, get that smile off for your face and tell me where I can buy some paint.
If you're Van Gogh, Picasso, or just a plain Bruegel, look no further than your Thomas on the local.
Harp Heating save £100 plus no deposit finance with nothing to pay till April. Ring 464 6575 now.
Hello. Tonight we look at the life and work of Catherine Cookson, a writer from the northeast of England whose stories, set along the Tyne, have brought her praise from other writers such as John Betjeman, sales in millions the world over, and the utter devotion of thousands of her readers. Catherine Cookson, now in her 70s, was tormented in her childhood by what was then the terrible stigma of being born illegitimate. This in an Irish Catholic, often drunken household, in conditions of impoverishment in the slums of East Jarrow. Writing was a way out, imaginatively and psychologically. Like most of those few hugely successful popular writers, her work comes to the page hot from her own life, in a release of energy which is also perhaps a relief from pain. Certainly so it seems in this case, for Catherine Cookson went through a long and terrifying nervous breakdown in which she stripped off her acquired personality and started again, trying to put down her roots once more in the person of herself as a child, little Kate McMullen of East Jarrow. In Jack Bond's South Bankshire's film, Catherine Cookson goes back into her past to discover the source of her energy and anguish.